The story begins on a battlefield where soldiers are on a mission to save a doctor, but they were trapped and betrayed by their informant. The enemies outnumbered them and captured them, but while they were in a complicated situation, a man arrives and asks if he is the commander. He is shocked that he speaks his language, in this case Korean, and asks him who he is. The masked man simply replies that he is there to save them, and when they run away, they see all their enemies on the ground. But the masked man continues to say that he is working alone. Enemies arrive, but the masked man manages to neutralize them alone. He moves very fast and takes a lot of risks. The commander understands that the masked man is not a soldier but a mercenary. When the mission was over, they were bombed and the mask of the mercenary fell off. The commander is shocked to discover that he is a kid. The story picks up 6 months later in a high school in South Korea where a new student is introduced to the class, Ijin. While the other students are talking about the new student who arrived, Ijin's little sister named Daeyeon says that she thought he died in an accident with his parents, but in the end, she met him 10 years later. But at the same time, some other girls come to Daeyeon and tell her to give him her sports outfit, and they start harassing her and even hitting her. The other students next door act as if nothing is happening. On Ijin's side, the trouble starts as soon as he goes to sit down because someone tries to knock her down. He remembers his commander in his other country telling him to avoid fights when he arrives in Korea. Ijin naively answers as a good mercenary that he is not a beginner. He is not going to risk dying when he does not know the situation in this country. Except that his commander tells him that it is not for Ijin that he is afraid, but for his adversaries. The classes begin for Ijin, who has memories of the war and thinks that this country is quite peaceful. At the end of the course, he waits for his sister to return with her to their grandfather with whom they live. On the way back, they meet one of Daeyeon's stalkers who is making fun of her with another guy. Except he doesn't know who he's dealing with. Ijin tries to ignore him as advised by his commander, and his sister apologizes. But seeing Daeyeon's face, he can't hold back and slaughters the guy in front. The second one arrives and also ends up on the ground in one shot. His sister and the girl who was harassing him are shocked, and Ijin immediately changes his behavior. At home, Ijin is also the perfect man who smiles all the time, does the dishes. He is really happy to be with his family. While he was sleeping, he also dreamed about his family. But this time it was about the plane crash. He wakes up with a start. He sees that his sister has made him breakfast, and she tells him that she has to leave for school early. A little later, we see again the girl of the day before who tells everything to Huijin, the leader of the group of stalkers. But that will not stop them. Directly, Huijin goes to Daeyeon and tells her to follow her. They then start to beat her. Huijin tells Daeyeon that it's going to be bad for her brother because she called her big brother. And apparently, her big brother is very strong and scares everyone. And just then, we see a group of guys coming to Ijin's class. Daeyeon hurries to his classroom to warn him, and she arrives with her clothes all dirty and blood on her face. And we have a flashback of one of Ijin's classmates who gets to know him. And when he learns that his sister is Daeyeon, he explains everything to her. He tells him that she was quite popular in high school, but that since a while, Huijin became jealous of her and started to harass her. And as her big brother is Jisoo, a very violent guy, nobody does anything. We are now back to the moment when Jisoo arrives to face Ijin. He sends his gang first, and Ijin tells his crying sister that she doesn't have to apologize. She is the victim in the story and that he is going to settle everything. The three guys start to attack him, but none of them manages to hit him. Without any effort, he destroys them and puts them all on the ground. Meanwhile, Jisoo watches his friends being slaughtered. He wonders if this guy is really human, and the whole class is shocked. Jisoo then attacks him with 2 kicks which are both blocked by Ijin without hardly moving. And then he puts a big punch in his face. And once on the ground, he chains him with a kick and knocks him out. Ijin then starts to walk towards the girls, but his sister stops him. Ijin tells her that he knows that she is being harassed, and that they have just beaten her up, but his sister tells him that it is settled now. He then walks her quietly back to her classroom, and everyone in the room is completely shocked. Daeyeon tells him that he fights really well, and Ijin thinks about his old job. He remembers the country at war, and he says that there, everyone was thinking only about themselves. But when it came to their family, everyone had a different attitude. Ijin, who has never experienced this, finally begins to understand these people, since he now has a family. In another room, we find the Jisoo and his sister. They get angry and his sister yells at him, but Jisoo tells him not to go to Daeyeon anymore. He is really afraid of Aijin. But on Huijin's side, it's impossible. She doesn't intend to stop her harassment towards Daein now. The next day, while Daein was going to school, she was caught by a group of masked girls. She understands quickly that it is Huijin and her friends. They take her to a karaoke and take the opportunity to hit her there. With the noise of the music, nobody hears. At the end, the employer comes to see the room and discovers Daein on the floor with blood. But she says that she is fine and goes straight home. Aijin waits for her at the end of class but doesn't find her. When he comes back home, he sees her shoes and notices that she is there. But he wonders. Indeed, she says that she has a simple fever. But earlier, Aijin saw blood on her shoes. Finally, he enters and she tells him that she fell down the stairs after being hit by a bicycle. She doesn't want to say anything, especially since her attackers were masked and Huijin's family is quite powerful. But Aijin is not stupid. He goes straight out of his house and heads for a nightclub. In this nightclub, we see Jisoo and his gang who say that they will take revenge on Aijin, and they don't intend to do it fair. At the same time, Jisoo gets a call from his sister who tells him that she also took revenge on Daein during the day, and at the same time, Aijin arrives in the nightclub. The timing is perfect, and we don't know how he found them, but that's not the problem now. All of Jisoo's buddies start to attack Aijin and even use weapons. But Aijin manages to dodge everything and knocks them out one by one. He managed to analyze the situation and make a strategy at the same time as they attacked him. It's Jisoo's turn and Aijin tells him to be careful. He chokes him and tells him that this is his last warning. He also adds to be careful with Huijin, because if she touches Daein again, it's Jisoo who will pay the consequences. Huijin goes to her brother right after, and he yells at her. Jisoo tells his sister that if she touches Daein again, he will take care of her. And later, we see Jisoo in the hospital with Huijin and their parents. Huijin told them that they have been assaulted, but their parents don't want to let the school take care of it. So they go and contact some mobsters they work with. They ask the mobsters to personally take care of the one who beat up their children, in this case Aijin. The mobsters go to his grandfather's house, but Aijin, who understands that the situation is rather strange, follows them without saying anything. When they arrive at the mafia's house, their boss says directly that he is going to call Jisoo's family to tell them that it is settled. But he notices that strangely, Aijin is not afraid at all. The two minions attack Aijin with a bat but he counters them. He protects himself easily and manages to put them down quickly. The boss is shocked, and he says that Aijin is not a simple high school student. He is shocked and prepares himself to face him. He manages to dodge the blows and sees at the same time that Aijin analyzes perfectly the fight. He manages to protect himself and to counterattack. When Aijin starts to attack, the boss of the mafia can't protect himself and falls. He says that this kid is very experienced and that he had to work a lot to get there, and to attack him is a very bad idea. We see the parents and Huijin waiting for news from the mafia boss. And when he calls them, the father apologizes to the mafia boss for asking him to take care of a little high school student. But the mafia boss replies that he should be the one apologizing to him, because he didn't succeed in his mission. And the father is shocked, since the boss is a famous fight in the mafia world. At the same time, the parents hear noise near their location. We see all the guards knocked out. It is of course Aijin who arrived to their house. The mafia boss is even thinking about retiring. Once in front of the parents, they are completely shocked. They ask Aijin how he got there, how he found where they lived, and how he overpowered all the guards. The mother doesn't care because now he has assaulted her children, the guards, and broken into the deputy's house. So she calls the police to finally settle this matter. During the call, Aijin pulls out his phone with a video that shows Huijin beating up his little sister with his band. Indeed, he went to get the videos of the surveillance cameras and has evidence. He also has videos of Jisoo beating other students in the school and many other evidence. He tells them that just like them who hired mafiosi to protect their children, he protected his sister. The father then offers to pay Aijin for his sister's care and compensation, but he says he doesn't need it. The only thing he wants is that his sister never sees her children again. The father says that he will send them to study abroad. Aijin adds that he doesn't want to see them anymore from tomorrow. Then he quietly returns home as if nothing had happened. He tells Daein that she doesn't have to worry anymore. From now on she won't fall down the stairs. She is completely shocked when she learns that they are going abroad and that her brother knew everything. But before leaving, Huijin didn't intend to let Daein off so easily, so she got together with all her friends. and as soon as they were all together, Aijin comes into the room with a mask. He tells them that it's good that they are all there. All the girls who attacked her sister in the same place. A little later, on TV, a video of a high school student's aggression is published. And on the video, it is indeed the deputy's children who are shown. The mobster goes to Aijin at the same time and tells him that he had an agreement with the deputy. Aijin thought that he could not settle this matter publicly, so he had to wait so that he could do it discreetly. He tells the mobster that he just has a bad temper. He also adds that he will now be too busy to deal with him. On TV, evidence came out about the congressman who laundered money and manipulated the election. It was actually Aijin who stole the documents from the mafia boss he beat the day before. At school, Daein is now quiet and tells Aijin to have fun with his friends. He talks a little with Yangshan, who suggests to meet him after school. Other students also come to talk to him now that everyone knows that he beat Jisoo twice. At the same time, new students arrive in the class. Yuna Shin, the granddaughter of the CEO of SW, the biggest company in the country, and with her, Seokju go. They have been raised together since childhood, and Seokju must be her bodyguard. Yuna is directly intrigued by Aijin because he was not on the list she received. And even when she looked at him, Aijin ignored her completely. After receiving the information about Aijin, Yuna and Seokju are wondering, is he really Daein's brother? Why is he back only a week before their return? They decide to investigate Aijin. Aijin, on the other hand, is enjoying with his friends at the internet cafe and with his family at home. He has occasional flashbacks to his former life as a mercenary when his commander calls him, for example. In high school, Aijin's buddies wonder who would win between Aijin and Seokju if they fought. But they say that Seokju is much too strong. He has had professional training since he was born. He even overpowered 30 people at once and came out without a scratch. Besides, we see in parallel Seokju who meets Aijin. He asks him directly who he really is. But Aijin answers that he doesn't understand the question. Seokju wants to know why he is there with a false identity. But Aijin denies and says that he doesn't know what he is talking about. Seokju then asks him why the high school where he supposedly studied in the past years has never heard of him. And on the other side, we see Yuna, who went to meet Daein. Does Aijin really have a false identity? What will Yuna do to Daein? You'll get the answer in the next video. By the way, if you liked the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. And leave a like and a comment.